Hey everyone. How you doing? So yours truly, my candle finally finished and we are here to do the final results, especially because a lot of y'all finished way ahead of typical schedule, which I felt was really cool, especially after the last round of candle reads that took the whole 2 weeks. Oh my God. So we're going to start with Lorraine, then Elisa, then Sherry, then Kristen, then Christina, and then myself. If you would like your own intention candle for the next new moon in Leo, you most certainly can do that. Everything is in my Etsy shop. All right, you can check it out. It's in the description. So, Miss Lorraine, here's your candle. We do have some residual stuff, but if you notice, like the bands will start somewhere, but then they don't hit the words. It's like they just stopped and went around it. Even here, like there's no residual on the actual words. So your candle, for the most part, is super clear. The only thing that did touch was daring to go big. We've got a little bit on the go big part. I think you do dare. I think you're afraid of the size of the dare from spirit, and that has a lot to do with fear and distrust of the unknown, right? We've got that nice big block across distrust, the unknown, and the universe having your back, right? Not sure if it's a huge mistake if you were to truly go big. So, you know, I embrace destiny with loving arms as it embraces me with loving arms as the focus. Just take a baby step then. If big and too big is scary, then just take a baby step. You know, it's okay to be afraid of really huge leaps. It happens. We're human. Sometimes it's just better to take a small one then, you know. Take a small one first, learn to trust that it's okay to make changes, and I think you will find yourself on the right track. All right. Miss Elisa, your candle is next. And to be fair, out of all of the candles, I mean, all of the candles are pretty dang good, to be fair, except mine. But I already knew, and Spirit was giving me the candle and I was writing all this shit on there. I was like, Spirit, this is going to take more than one. So, what is done cannot be undone, but can be reconciled. And the biggest thing for you, because there's no real residual on anything being let go of at all. Like even down here, the residual wax goes around the words. It's right here. A big spiritual harpoon. Like you're not afraid of the sharks, but you don't necessarily embrace what you could have to counter their presence. You know what I mean? Like a force to be reckoned with. Like they could be circling around you, and as long as they're circling around you and minding their own business, I guess you don't mind. But it's not a comfortable feeling to have spiritual sharks floating around you. Like I would rather them not be around me at all. So I think it's a matter of embracing your energy being really bright, right? Being really bright to where the vampires of the spiritual world that we deal with every day, being so bright that they're actually put off by your energy instead of tempted to test your energy. You know, that they just kind of hate on you instead and avoid you like the plague because they know you're that bright. And that's the point of that. So we're going to work on that. All right, we're going to work on your brightness. You don't have to deal with sharks, right? Spiritual sharks in your reality. Feeling the pressure to stay put because you're surrounded by sharks. You can actually be bright enough and authentic enough that they choose to not stick around. You know, they choose to not stick around. So something to definitely think about moving forward. All right, Miss Sherry, your candle. We don't have any residual on these top two here. So releasing dirt bags from early years and your higher earth angels on your level coming in to replace them. That's good. I do feel though, because there's one line that goes through just the word years, that you may be dealing with some kind of residual energy just because you felt it for so long, right? Just because you felt it for so long. I think most of that you've essentially let go of. It's just a familiar vibration inside your mind. So I would really kind of focus on reworking or visualizing the way your brain connects to past memories and reconnecting that circuit in a better way. Just visually seeing things disconnect and reconnect surrounding that kind of a theme. And I think that would be really, really helpful for you. Authentic brightness and shine and the influence of shadows cast by others. The residual's thin. It's not too crazy. There's not lines or bars. It's just like an overall thick, like band of fog. So I think you're on your way through that. It's just not quite there yet. So dare yourself, dare yourself to just shine a little bit brighter and see what kind of effect that has, right? When you shift from one color to another kind of thing. If that can make sense. It's like shifting from red to orange and seeing how people react when you dip into a different color of energy. I think you might surprise yourself with how good it feels when you embrace all the different colors of your personality, right? And then we have dissonance and resonance and harmony. There's some thickness around the bottom, but it only barely touches on the actual words down here. So dissonance and feeling that disconnect. I feel, just intuiting on the energy, like it has a lot to do with social structure and acceptability. And that disconnect from spirit comes when you feel you have to, quote unquote, perform, which is what's disturbing the harmony between you and your reality, because it doesn't quite fit. It's like a puzzle piece that's almost there, but not quite. So I would be open to seeing where you actually fit with certain people or circumstances and what may need to be tweaked a little bit so that you can feel more of that harmony, more of that resonance. And I was talking about it, I think, in Pisces reading when we did the Saturn retrograde reads, because Pisces was doing a fantastic job. And it was really about kind of tracking your energy, and seeing where it goes. I was talking about the energy bank. I know you've been with me long enough to remember the energy bank, because that was way back in the day on Facebook. But I had challenged everybody to, just for 1 week, journal where their energy was going, what brought energy into them, and what caused them to feel drained of their energy, right? That you wake up every day and you start with 1,000 energy off the bank. You automatically get 1,000 energy every day. And then tracking what made you feel more energized and what took your energy away. So like if you got stuck in work traffic, Did it drain off 20 of your energy? Did it frustrate you to the point that you were drained 150 energy? Can you take a different route to work that might be a little longer, but it's more peaceful, there's no traffic, and actually gain energy from your ride to work? Did you deal with a certain individual that had you so through the roof, you thought you were going to explode, and they cost you 500 energy dealing with them? Or did you have a really positive interaction with somebody, got to talk to your best friend for a couple hours, felt inspired, and they added to your energy? And figuring out where your energy is going, and if it's going out anywhere, how can you minimize or get rid of that cost to your energy so that you start netting positive every day instead of netting negative or breaking even or just barely staying afloat above the surface with your energy, right? How can you improve the energy coming in? How can you make more time for the things that feel good and start depleting out the different sources of depletion from your life to improve the overall quality of your experience every day, right? And I called it the Energy Bank Challenge. So I would challenge you to that. See where your energy is going for just 1 week. Just track it for 1 week, see where your energy is going, and make adjustments, right? Make adjustments where you need to make adjustments. All right. Kristen, candle's pretty darn clear, babe. It's pretty clear. There is some residual wax in general on all of the candles. But we don't have any major lines or anything like that going through anything. Even down at the bottom where there's still like some wax here, it doesn't touch on the words outside of like half of weakness. It doesn't touch on divine defiance at all. It doesn't touch on being told certain strengths or weaknesses. I think with that block down there, being told certain strengths or weaknesses, I think you know they're not weaknesses. I think you know they're not. But I think that a part of you questions if there may be too much, right? If it may be too strong, which the answer is no. It's not too strong. Your strength is your strength, and it's as strong as it is for a reason. But I feel like that has a lot to do with that. Being comfortable with your own personal power, right? Sometimes you are going to come off really fucking strong, and that serves a purpose and place in everything. So your candle did really great. And outside of that, I don't really think there is anything for you to get hyper focused on as far as fixing. If anything, maybe letting go of this idea that life is a battle. Because even though there's no real bands, if I had to choose a place where the wax was the thickest outside of down here, it would be the battle. I think you got to allow yourself to be all in kind of strong and not really hold yourself back sometimes. Even if you don't do it often. Because 99% is not 100, and Spirit gave you that 100 for a reason. You know what I mean? Spirit gave you that 100 for a reason. So don't be afraid to hit 100 with your power and knock things out exactly as they need to get knocked out, or put in place exactly as they need to get put in place. Allow yourself not just to be strong, but to allow your strengths to show you just how strong they can be. Your personal power, right? Get comfortable with that. And know that there's a part of the divine design of things that requires you in that level. You know? All right, Christina. So your candle is probably one of the most interesting, because normally we have the bands that go across, where yours, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but it almost looks like lightning. It almost looks like lightning coming down Oh, I'm mad. You can kind of see it in the camera. But it looks like lightning coming down instead of going across. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a candle. And it's super clear all around those specific lines. It's like breakthrough. It's reading like revelation energy, right? Lightning, symbolism. Attitude of serenity and soul family who seeks out comforting you are the two spots on the receiving end that we're going to have to work on getting more comfortable with. I do think you are going to have breakthroughs with that because those lightning streaks hit those places on your candle. So that might just crack open for you by the divine's hand, right? By the divine's hand, they might help crack that open. Don't be surprised if certain people who are annoying or burden on you tend to get rocked out of your energy space, especially if they make you feel like you're annoying or you're a burden. I think as far as speaking up, I think you've got that down. Fucks given to undeserving fuckers. The wax burned all the way to the very bottom there. Oftentimes, like, we have that little bit of wax, like that 1/4 inch that sits along the bottom, but yours actually burned all the way down to the bottom. There's no wax in the bottom there, just a little residual. And I feel, with that being said, you don't have any major blocks to not giving a fuck about people who don't deserve the fucks being given. I think it's a matter of when to stop giving them. Like, you don't have an issue stopping. It's just knowing when to stop. So I would work on that, Christina. Getting the hint early from spirit and being like, you know what? I could stop giving a fuck right now, and it doesn't have to be a problem a week from now. I could stop caring right now, you know, and not let it affect me and my day and my energy anymore moving forward. I don't have to wait until it's really annoying or it's interfering to stop caring, you know, to kind of get the early warning signs intuitively and trust it early until you start to identify those fuckers like out the gate and it doesn't even become an issue anymore, you know. Yeah, I would work on that. And so for those of you curious about my candle, self-priority I got down, and I think y'all know I've done a good job at that one. However, self-neglect is there, and there's parts of, there are serious things that I really do need to pick up and work on within myself, and I'm aware of what they are. Accepting disrespect, feeling lost is completely blacked over with wax, and being around others who reflect importance is something I have to start welcoming in. The highest respect is something I got to start welcoming in. And a lot of that has to do with perspectives from the past, like just a history of the way people have reacted to me when I clearly express who I am and where I'm at, you know, with life, and the judgments that come along with it and how the treatment changes after. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. That was a rough candle for me. That was a rough candle for me. There was even twice along the burning process where I had to relight it. You know, everybody else's candle did fine staying lit. Mine went out twice. And I was like, I know, Spirit, we got to dig deep. We got to dig deep. And I pulled in some people to directly or indirectly help me understand exactly that, including my own self, because I go back and I listen to my own readings. You know, for those of you who caught the Saturn retrograde readings, there's a lot to unpack in there. Kristen made a playlist. I shared it on the Facebook page. You could check out the playlist and listen to them all through. Even after recording them, even after doing all the editing, I still went back and listened to them all and was just like, oh my God, you know, like seeing things and how they related to my own chart and the different process that I'm in. So I hope you guys enjoyed the candle process, that you know, if you did get your candle, that you know what you're working on. If you don't, you can always direct message me. I got no problem with that. We could talk about it. Elisa had asked me, how do I buy candles for the rest of the year? So that has been adjusted in the Etsy shop. You can now buy candles for all the remaining events of the year, as well as the secret code names. You could buy individual code names and you could buy them for the entire year. So all of that is up to date in the Etsy shop. The next moon event is on the 24th. It is currently the 17th. So you guys got some time. Keep it in mind, but don't wait too long or forget because deadlines is deadlines. And that new moon in Leo is going to end up coming a whole lot faster than we think, especially with Mercury now being retrograde. It's going to be an interesting moon event. It's going to be an interesting moon event in Leo with Mercury retrograde in Leo. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I look forward to it. The theme is interesting as well. Spirit gave me resurrecting Shakespeare. So I have no clue what Spirit means by that, but I am sure we are going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out. All that stuff is in my Etsy, and I will see you guys again soon. I am going to do some mid-month check-ins. The Saturn retrograde readings were covering the period of Saturn retrograde, which is all the way straight through the end of November as like a blanketing theme. But we're going to do some mid-month check-ins for the end of July, which covers the first half of Mercury being retrograde. So we're going to get into that. All right. I should have that out and ready for you guys. Fingers crossing for Friday. I'm shooting for Friday. All right. I love y'all. You take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye.